All right, guys, I got to give you an update on what's going on with the January 6th committee because there are so many insane things that happen. So first of all, I'm not going to show you this video here because it's pretty long, but this title says it all. So there's a Georgia election worker who was basically the target of a campaign by Rudy Giuliani when Rudy Giuliani was on social media going full stop the steal, rigged election, and he claimed that they had on video an election worker handing out USB ports, and that was part of the plan to steal the election. So basically like, oh, they're doing some sketchy stuff. Why are they passing around a USB port? Oh, this must be one of the things that they're doing in the process of rigging the election for Joe Biden. And so Rudy Giuliani went on social media and blasted this out there and said the name of the person who was doing it, and they got death threats and all these negative things started happening. And come to find out, the video that Rudy Giuliani was referencing, they weren't, taking a USB port and passing it around. They were handing out a ginger mint. There were ginger mints and they were giving them out. It was like this woman and her mother. And so Giuliani led like a campaign that included death threats against this poor woman right here when her crime was like passing out ginger mints or getting a ginger mint from her mom or something like that. So, but look, the reason why this is so important is because it really does show you the kind of insanity that we're dealing with the crowd that truly believes the election was rigged and they're all in on stop the steal and, they led the charge on January 6th. These are the people that we're dealing with. They don't have any real evidence. So they muck stuff up and make a mountain out of a molehill. So, and to that point that they really don't have any evidence. Okay, you guys have to see this. So let's start here. Headline in Mediaite. We've got lots of theories. We just don't have evidence. That's a quote. January 6th, the witness recalls laughing at bizarre Giuliani election admission. So this guy here, this is Adam Schiff. Now, Adam Schiff is a Democratic congressman. He's a douchebag. I don't like him. He was a big-time Russiagator. He's a conspiracy theorist. This guy right here is Rusty Bowers. By the way, awesome name, Rusty Bowers. He's a Republican, and he's the Arizona State House Speaker. He's going to describe Rudy Giuliani and a bunch of Republicans reaching out to him, people who are with Trump, and what they tried to get him to do because he's in a position that greatly affects the election. So let's see what he says here.
And at that meeting, did Mr. Giuliani raise any specific allegations of election fraud again?
His initial comments were, again, the litany of groups of illegal individuals or people deceased, etc. And he had brought that up. And I wasn't alone in that meeting. There were others, and other members of the Senate aggressively questioned him. And then I proceeded to question him on the proof that he was going to bring me, etc. But he did bring those up, yes.
And these other legislators were also Republican members of the Senate?
They were, yes, sir.
And did they also press him for proof of these allegations?
They pressed him very strongly, two of them especially, very strongly.
And at some point, did Mr. Giuliani ask one of the other attorneys on his team to help him out with the evidence?
He did. He asked Jenna Ellis, who was sitting to his right. One thing was that it was more to the point of, was there sufficient evidence or action that we could justify the recalling of the electors? But at that part of the conversation, I know he referred to someone else. But he did ask, do we have the proof, to Jenna, Miss Ellis? And she said yes. And I said, I want the names. Do you have the names? Yes. Do you have how they voted? We have all the information. I said, can you get to me that information? Did you bring it with you? She said, no. Both Mr. Giuliani asked her and I asked generally if they'd brought it with them. She said, no, it's not with me, but we can get it to you. And I said, then you didn't bring me the evidence, which was repeated in different iterations for some period of time.
At some point, did one of them make a comment that they didn't have evidence, but they had a lot of theories?
That was Mr. Giuliani.
And what exactly did he say, and how did that come up?
My recollection, he said, we've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence. And I don't know if that...
Wow. So he's going to this guy, the Arizona State House Speaker, who has a very important role in Arizona certifying the election. He wants him to recall the Biden electors and appoint, like, fake Trump electors. He's trying to get this guy to overturn the state of Arizona because he's trying to overturn the election nationally. And this guy, he's a Republican. He's hearing him out. He's like, okay, do you have the evidence? Oh, yeah, we have the evidence. Where is it? Let me see it. Well, I don't exactly have it with me, but you got to trust me. We have the evidence. We have all of it. Okay, but I need to see it. Okay, but see, what happened was me and Craig and them was down by the Safeway. I don't even know exactly where it is, but you know what I'm saying? Maybe you should probably help us out in one way or another. And he's like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I do not know what you're asking me to do. And Rudy Giuliani effectively admits, we have a lot of theories, but we don't have the evidence. Well, what the fuck then? Stop wasting everybody's time. They're trying to effectively, look, the more dark interpretation of this is they don't even care that they don't have the evidence. They're just trying to force homeboy to concede and help them steal the election.
That was a gaffe, or maybe he didn't think through what he said, but both myself and others in my group, the three in my group and my council, both remembered that specifically, and afterwards we kind of laughed about it.
And getting back to the ask in that phone call that preceded this meeting, he wanted you to have the legislature dismiss the Biden electors and replace them with Trump electors on the basis of these theories of fraud?
He did not say it in those exact words, but he did say that Arizona law, according to what he understood, that would be allowed, and that we needed to come into session to take care of that, which initiated a discussion about, again, what I can legally and not legally do, and I can't go into session in Arizona unilaterally or on my sole prerogative.
In this meeting or at any other later time, did anyone provide you with evidence of election fraud sufficient to affect the outcome of the presidential election in Arizona?
No one provided me ever such evidence.
Wow. All right, more.
So that was the first ask, that we hold an official committee hearing.
And what was his second ask?
I said, to what end? To what end the hearing? He said, well, we have heard by an official high up in the Republican legislature that there is a legal theory or a legal ability in Arizona that you can remove the electors of President Biden and replace them. And we would like to have the legitimate opportunity through the committee to come to that end and remove that. And I said, that's something that's totally new to me. I've never heard of any such thing. And he pressed that point. And I said, look, you are asking me to do something that is counter to my oath when I swore to the Constitution to uphold it. And I also swore to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Arizona. And this is totally foreign as an idea or a theory to me. And I would never do anything of such magnitude without deep consultation with qualified attorneys. And I said, I've got some good attorneys, and I'm going to give you their names. But you're asking me to do something against my oath, and I will not break my oath. And I think that was up to that point.
During the conversation, and you heard, I think, when we played a snippet of Mr. Giuliani calling other state legislators and saying that he was calling us essentially a fellow Republican, did he make a similar appeal to you or bring up the fact that you shared a similar party?
Whether it was in that call or in a later meeting, he did bring that up more than once.
And how would he bring that up?
He would say, aren't we all Republicans here? I would think we would get a better reception. I mean, I would think you would listen a little more open to my suggestions that we're all Republicans.
And this evidence that you asked him for that would justify this extraordinary step, I think you said they never produced. Why did you feel, either in the absence of that evidence or with it, what they were asking you to do would violate your oath to the Constitution?
First of all, when the people, and in Arizona, I believe some 40 plus years earlier, the legislature had established the manner of electing our officials, or the electors for the presidential race. Once it was given to the people, as in Bush v. Gore, illustrated by the Supreme Court, it becomes a fundamental right of the people. So as far as I was concerned, for someone to ask me I would call it a paucity, there was no evidence being presented of any strength. Evidence can be hearsay evidence, it's still evidence, but it's still hearsay. But strong judicial quality evidence, anything that would say to me, you have a doubt, deny your oath. I will not do that. And on more than one occasion throughout all this, that has been brought up, and it is a tenet of my faith.
Jeez. Wow. All right. This is fucking crazy, man. This is crazy. So again, this guy, I have no doubt that me and this guy would not agree on almost anything politically. He's an elected Republican in the state of Arizona. But this guy watched Giuliani and his gaggle of idiots and clowns try to convince him to basically overturn the results of the election. And he was like, what are you even asking me to do? Like, you have no evidence. There isn't even a procedure in place where I can do this, even if you wanted me to, and I'm not remotely convinced about any of your claims. And look, so here's the thing. In a world that made sense, all of this information would lead to criminal charges. I mean, Trump, there's a whole separate question. He's committed fraud 1 trillion times. He defrauded his own people to the tune of $250 million recently, saying, the funds are going to go to help us overturn the election, and then they didn't even establish the pact that they said they established. That was a fraud. Trump University was a fraud. He's committed 1 million financial crimes. He also did, of course, egg on the riot on January 6th. He spoke out of both sides of his mouth to give himself legal cover, and maybe that's enough to get him off here, but in a world that made sense, it's very clear that crimes were committed here, especially by Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump. Now, do I think they're actually going to get charged? I lean towards no. I mean, look, I don't know what's going to happen, but I lean towards no. But I do think, having said all that, the January 6th hearings are turning out to be more important than I thought they would, because, look, at the end of the day, it is theater. But the theater is having an effect on public opinion. And at this point, most members of the Republican establishment are trying to get past Trump because now one of them wants to become president. And so they actually secretly like the fact that he's getting destroyed in these hearings. He's getting obliterated in these hearings, him and everybody who was around him. And when you hear stories like this, look, that 20 or 30% of the country that loves Trump is never going to stop loving Trump no matter what. But you bet your ass he's losing everybody else. And now I'm sure independents have turned against him as well. Moderates have turned against him. And again, only 15% of the country wants him to keep talking about the 2020 elections, and he can't shut up about the 2020 elections. There was a poll that came out the other day that we covered. 58% of the country wants Trump criminally charged over January 6th. And my guess is these hearings are having an effect on that. I really believe that. I think that these hearings are kind of waking people up to what happened. Because, guys, honestly, if you think about it, it's the oldest trick in the book politically. As you try to steal an election, you scream that the other side is stealing the election. Like, it's classic projection. You're doing the thing that you're accusing your opponents of doing. I got a lot of problems with Joe Biden. I got 1 million problems with Joe Biden. But he won the election, fair and square. And so Donald Trump keeps accusing the Democrats of committing fraud and stealing the election and rigging it, etc., as that's exactly what you and your group of morons are doing here. And this is basically an elected Republican official who had a very powerful position admitting that, saying, like, yeah, that's what they were trying to get me to do. The Arizona State House Speaker, Rusty Bowers, saying, yeah, they were trying to get me to overturn the fucking election. These people are crazy. And then, look, the deeper question is, do they really believe what they're saying, or is it just a pure power play and a rank authoritarian dictatorial move? And that I don't know the answer to. I mean, half the time I believe they're really so stupid that they believe the election was stolen and they've bought into like the Dinesh D'Souza line and the Mike Lindell line and the Sidney Powell and Mike Flynn line. But it is also possible that they are smart enough to know, of course this isn't true, but we still want Trump to be president, so we don't give a fuck if we have to shit all over representative democracy in order to do that. So whatever it is, this is pretty fucking crazy, this stuff that's coming out of the hearing. And it's definitely having an impact, even if it's just electorally, even though it should be more than electorally. And look, you could blame the politicians for this because they had an opportunity right after January 6th. Now, what they decided, let's try to impeach again, which is dumb because Trump's leaving office anyway. What they really should have done is there's a provision in the Constitution that allows for these people, if you like undermine democracy, I forget the exact wording of the provision of the Constitution, but you could basically ban Trump from being president ever again. And they had the authority to do that, the ability to do that, and Mitch McConnell got cold feet and didn't do it, and that would have put everything to rest. So now we have these hearings, and this is, an attempt to raise the consciousness so that the Americans don't make the mistake of voting for Trump in 2024. We'll see if it works. Certainly right now, this stuff is hitting them hard, and all the polls show it. And I guess you can only hope that holds and that stays, and people feel this way come 2024. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.